For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ardis Kadiu. I would love to introduce Ty. Ty can introduce himself, obviously.
Hello, can you all hear me? Hello? Okay, great. Hi, I'm Ty Fujimura. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Element. So my job is to liaise between Ardis and you all, our VIP customers, and our team, and help our team move efficiently to build out the features that we want to deliver to you and bring you value. So it's a pleasure to be here and excited to talk through the exciting vision we have for the product.
And I also have Eric with me here today. So both Ty and Eric are going to help me through the presentation and through our keynote. We're going to talk a lot about kind of what we have in store for you. So Eric.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Eric Range, VP of Product here at Element. And Engage is always a special day for me because last year at Engage was my first day of work at Element.
Second first day of work. Eric is a boomerang, so it's great.
I am a boomerang. So.
Those are the best. So we're going to talk about, today is going to be about the next gen now, the AI-powered student journey with Element. So it's all going to be about the product, our vision for it, kind of where we are. But we're going to talk a little bit about the kind of the state of higher education. We're going to talk about some of the features that we've been releasing over the past year since our last Engage. We're also going to talk about some upcoming features, so that's going to be really, really cool. And of course, our commitment to AI. There's going to be a lot of AI talk during this presentation. We'll tie it all together, and over the next few sessions today, we're going to be talking a lot more about and go in depth into some of those areas. We're also going to talk about our product and AI vision as well. So if you remember last year, our commitment was to, hey, have Element be the CRM, the only CRM, and the only CRM that you would need for the whole student journey. Well, this theme today and how we're kind of going to accomplish that, we're going to talk a lot more about it, so you get to see a little bit more detail there. And of course, we're going to have a chance for Q&A at the end. So, you get to ask your questions. Don't know if they're going to be answered, but, we get to ask them anyway. All right, so as we start thinking about the state of higher education, challenges and opportunities, we've touched upon this yesterday, and I talked about this a little bit yesterday during the opening remarks. But essentially, one of the things that we see at Element, and this is something that we are focusing quite a bit over the last couple of years, and internally we have evangelized this as kind of our three challenges that are problems. This is kind of the problems that we're falling in love with, right? We're falling in love with the problems and we're trying to solve them in any possible way, through technology, through services, whatever it is, right? But we're not tied to specifically one way or another, but we love these problems. And the first one is really changing student expectations. A lot of folks have talked about that, how that's changing. I don't need to go over it a lot more, but it's changed. Expectations are changing, and now we need to keep up with that. And how we're going to be able to do that really you need technology in order to help with that. And that's what Element is focusing a lot, that student experience. We started from there, that's our DNA, the student experience, and then we kind of backed into, well, what happens? How can we enable schools to be more productive? So staff shortages, lack of expertise, marketing is moving really fast, a lot of channels, everything is moving really quickly, content generation, all of these things. So most institutions are lacking or working with other partners, but this is a problem that is very near and dear to us. Of course, our DNA in having a product which was first used internally for actually enabling schools and then being handed off to schools themselves, it's kind of helped us out. And then the last one is the ROI and insights, right? So we talked about data. We talked about people data. We talked about student data. We talk a lot about data. So that's going to be an area where if you don't have that map of the student journey, you really cannot make an impact. You can't make decisions going blindly. Of course, you said intuition is really important, but you need that data for you. And we really think that if you're, the schools that are going to evolve and they're going to actually be around for the next 50 or 100 years, really need to tie that student together, need to tie those experiences together, need to solve those three problems, right? They need to have an amazing student experience. They have to kind of empower their staff to do a lot more with obviously a lot less right now as our resources get narrower, but also provide that connection with the student, and of course be able to understand what they're doing and kind of adopt really quickly and kind of change, right? So remember that constant change. People who are we're going to be really good in the future, as Chris was saying yesterday, are those who are, changing quickly, right? So change is going to be here for a while. And really at Element, we're kind of trying to solve all those three things, right? So we're trying to bring all those three things together. So as a CRM at Element, we're trying to provide a really, really great student experience, try to give you and empower you to do a lot more with a lot less, and of course, bring all of that data together so we can have better insights on that journey. So, I wanted to have a big number, but I'm like, okay, so I pulled a few numbers in here. This 3X really, I wanted to bring some numbers from last year's Engage to this year's Engage. And this kind of talks a little bit about the growth of Element and the growth of the product and also the growth of our community here as well. So this number basically signifies the, last year we have tripled the amount of students our schools are serving this year. So we have added, we more than doubled our user base and our client base and also partner base, and but it's not just double, right? So we've kind of brought in a lot more larger institutions that are serving a lot of students, right? We brought in schools who are serving 80, 100,000 plus students. And with that, there's a lot of challenges that come along, right? So Element is growing and it's stretching, and of course, we're looking for that future there. But this number is really important because last year's Engage, we had about 250,000 students that we were serving, and then now we have about 750,000 students that we're serving as part of our partners that have joined Element. So that number is going a lot faster, larger schools, of course. It gives us an opportunity to work with a huge diversity of clients as well. You guys have added about almost 8 million contacts since last year's Engage, so you're being very active in our platform and trying to use it to communicate to a lot more than those students, right? It's prospects, other constituents as well. We've tracked over 400 million engagements, so there's anything from email opens to SMSs to page views and things like that. So these are all known engagements. So that's something impressive. And this is again in the span of the last since our last Engage, which was about 11 months or so before. We've sent a lot of text messages, right? And this number, it's really interesting because it's kind of grown very fast. So there's a lot more happening, and this is a number that it's great because it shows the adoption of the newer channels, and SMS obviously is not necessarily newer, but if you have it be incorporated as part of your platform, it's a lot easier to do that. And of course, we've had about 500,000 conversations plus started, which is great because conversations is a multi-channel component of Element, and it allows us to reach those students wherever they are. I think somebody mentioned yesterday that we can now ask a faculty member, they can just go in Element and they can just send a text message to a student without using their personal phone number. Well, those conversations allow you to do that, right? So it's an amazing kind of adoption of that tool, which is relatively new to the platform. All right, so I wanted to kind of give it off to Eric so he can also start kind of going into a little bit of the product year in review, what we've been up to since our last Engage. There's going to be, obviously features and things like that Eric is going to talk through, but I'm going to hand it off to him so he can actually go through that.
All right, can everybody hear me? I've been battling a cold since last week, so hopefully the voice stays put here. So as Ardis said, we've come a really long way in the last 11 months with the product, and I've got one more number that I want to share, and that's we've released about 500 or over 500 product releases this year. Some of these are kind of small tweaks, small little things that just make your lives better, and some of them are total overhauls of modules, like tasks, and new features, like some of the things we'll be talking about today. This year, this is just a few of the things that we worked on this year, but I want to run through them because I think sometimes We release things, everybody goes, wow, and then we get tied up in our day-to-day and we forget to go back to some of those things that can really improve the experience on how we interact with students, their parents, and others. So first up is organizations. Last year, we released organizations, and this is a way to be able to bring people together and track them in various cohorts. Whether you're in undergraduate college and you want to track those kind of top feeder schools or maybe community-based organizations that you work with, or maybe you're a graduate program and you have employer relationships and you want to track cohorts from Verizon or Duke Energy or some big corporation that you work with. Organizations allows you to tie that together and bring all of the power of segmentation both at the organization level and then on the people profiles as well. We also released a feature called Journeys. This is a really powerful feature where you can now track any custom funnel that you want, right? So you've got the ability now to track not only the standard admissions funnel that we have in Element, but maybe you have individual business processes that you really want students to understand where students are in that journey. So these can be every semester they have to meet with an advisor, they have to schedule their courses. These are all things that those signals can be ingested into Journeys, and you can track them right through that custom funnel. We have other folks who are using this to dive deeper into some of the admissions funnel steps for those of you in admissions, right? We've got that critical period between the time a student is accepted and that time that, in my VP of enrollment days, the butt in the seat, right? And that's only really represented by one funnel state, right? Admitted and deposited, or admitted and enrolled. So we wanted to look at a way, hey, have they attended orientation? Have they done these other intermediate steps? Now Journeys is a way that you can dive deep and see how students are progressing. But the other thing Journeys allows us to do is see where students might be running into friction. Because now that we've blown that business process out, you can see, hey, a third of my students are getting hung up in this thing that I think should take them a week, and it's taking them 2, 3 a month. So is there another communication we can send? Is there outreach? Is there an orientation leader or somebody who can connect with them to help them with that? So that's Journeys. There will be a session on Journeys later this afternoon with Megan and I from the product team. Tasks. We completely overhauled Tasks earlier this year. And Tasks is a module near and dear to my heart because it was the thing I worked on the first time I was here, the first version of Tasks. So it was really exciting to see the overhaul come through here. But we took a lot of your feedback on how you wanted to use Tasks, and we made the experience much, much better. So a few of the highlights with Tasks is, of course, you can track those simple one-layer, hey, I got to make a phone call, I've got to do, I want to drop a note and just, give myself a reminder. But the other thing we did with Tasks is we created a couple of different productivity tools right within Tasks. One of them is queues. How many of you guys are using queues out there in Tasks? One, I see one. Well, this is something that you should definitely, when you get back to campus in July, dig into queues. So these are powerful, dynamic to-do lists that you can build for your team. And you have the ability to use segments of people, types of tasks, and combine them in different ways. So if you have a team of people who, let's say, are checking residency requirements or reviewing those residency documents, you can build a queue for any student that has those documents ready for review. You can use a workflow to build that task and then have a queue that those various team members can come into and work off of together.
Eric, everybody wants to be told what to do, so I don't have to think about it every day, so this is a great way to do that. At the core of every CRM, a really good workflow management and tasks is really, I feel that we have accomplished that with tasks this next round. And it's also, if you think about it, it's not just tasks, it's solving a lot of different, it can be called case management, it can be called, a lot of different things, right? In a lot of different systems, you call it something very different, but here we're calling it tasks, and it can accomplish a lot of those different workflows and those different use cases that this afternoon, we're gonna have more examples of that, how we're using it for student success, case management, and things like that as well.
And one of the things that facilitates case management is not only queues, but the idea of related subtasks. So you can now build sort of, I'll call it workflow with a small w, not workflows, but you can have kind of that parent task that is, residency review, let's say, use that example again. And then underneath that, you have one person who needs to check this particular thing and another person that needs to check this thing, but those two tasks roll up to kind of this parent task. That's a really powerful feature, particularly around case management and more complex business processes. In-app calling. We've released in-app calling as a premium feature, and this lives right inside conversations. So right alongside your web chat and your SMS messages and your inbound emails, your inboxes for emails, you can now take direct outbound calls directly from Element. And these use similar phone numbers to your SMS phone numbers. And we also allow optional transcription and recording of those calls. So you get the same rich data and the same visibility into what's going on in those phone calls as you do with all the other channels that you have in your conversations. Dynamic territories. We rebuilt and reconceived how we deal with admissions territories in particular. So again, leveraging the power of segmentation, we now have taken the model where you needed to build a bunch of individual segments, store them in your segments in a folder somewhere, and then use a really long workflow, right, to go through and say, hey, here's a condition, assign that to this territory. Here's a condition, assign it to that territory. With dynamic territories, you come directly into the territories list and you build that segment, tie it directly to the territory, and that territory is now live, dynamically updating every time data touches that student record, or a parent record for that matter, that record is now being reevaluated to see if their territory has changed somehow. So this really streamlines the process. If you're a newer partner, this really gets territories up and running much, much quicker. It's fully backwards compatible, so you can mix and match the dynamic territories and the legacy territories. But as a guy who used to run a CRM on a campus, if you're using your summer as kind of your spring cleaning and you're fixing up things for the next cycle, dynamic territories is a great place to start and jump in and kind of rethink and reset up those territories. PACS. For those of you using PACS, we hope you're getting a lot of value out of everything we deliver with PACS. If you're not so familiar with PACS, these are pre-built templates and components that really drive fast value to campaigns. We also have a couple of integration packs. So the last year, we've delivered 15 new packs to help you streamline your communications with students and get you started much, much faster. So things like everybody loves when you acknowledge their birthday, right? So a campaign that acknowledges their birthday, and that pack builds the workflow, builds the email. I think that one's got confetti or balloons or something, little animation for the students. Glitter, yeah. We've also got more transactional packs to help drive people through the process, like admissions, application checklist reminders, and driving students to make sure they're finishing their application. So those packs are available, and they're a really powerful way to leverage best practices in the industry and get going on campaigns much, much faster.
One thing to keep, just to iterate on packs, is that there's a lot more in there, and one of the things that we heard a lot was, hey, we need best practices, we need best practices. So you guys are coming to us and maybe you don't have an admission, you don't have a marketing team, and that's really what we did here, right? We've taken those best practices and now implemented them in packs. So all you have to do is install them. You get a FAFSA reminder pack. It's a however many long week, and driving that student to fill in their FAFSA. Templates, like email templates and communication templates. Those things take a lot of time to design and put together. And of course, through packs, they become really yours with all the personalization that we have in there. So don't underestimate packs. It's a great way for you to get started, and we're adding a lot more things in there. Even if you haven't really looked at it lately, it's something that you might be intermediate, advanced. You still it still kind of cut down a lot of your workflow. So this is the kinds of things that we're talking about, that we're focusing on the productivity part. And you see the theme here that Eric is building, right? So the theme has really been, hey, we're doing a lot of things to help your productivity because we know that we need to get you guys more productive, and we need to kind of help out with those staff shortages. So that's an area where we spent a lot of time this past year on.
Absolutely, and to that end, we've also redesigned the PACS library interface to make it more discoverable, easier to find what you're looking for. So if you haven't been in the PACS library in a couple of months, do revisit it. It's really great. You can find it under the Data and Automations menu, and dive in and check it out, because it really, really can streamline a lot of those workflows that you're probably like, hey, I would really like to do a newsletter, but I don't really have time to design that template, right? PACS can jump on that right away. Supplemental application forms. This is, like many of our new features this year, is something that came directly from working with a number of you and listening to some of the friction points that you all were having. So supplemental application forms allows you to build custom forms that are embedded after application submission. So the student fills out that initial application, and now you have to collect some sort of additional information. Maybe it's that residency verification form, right, where they have to provide a couple of certifications and upload a couple of more documents. We've got other folks who are using it as a enrollment agreement, right? So after they're admitted, we show that form that says, they agree to these 3 or 4 pieces. But the really nice thing is, not only does it use all of the great form builder pieces that we use throughout Element with conditional logic and all like that, but you can also variably show the forms to the right students, right? So you can conditionally display the forms, only display this when the student's admitted, only display it in this particular status, only display it if they're part of this particular segment. So it's a really powerful way to collect additional information. But the best part, and this is where a lot of you were running into friction, is because it is part of the application site, it has the user context built in, right? So no longer are you driving students to an unauthenticated form where you're hoping that they're using the same email address they registered with their application, and instead they use, one of the other 5 Yahoo accounts that they use, and now all of a sudden Eric's enrollment form is not with Eric's application, and now somebody's got to resolve that duplicate, right? Seems like a minor thing, but the feedback on this has already been really, really, really incredible. So if you're not using supplemental application forms and you're driving students to, more of an RFI landing page experience for those types of things, check out supplemental application forms. Some other improvements around the application experience. app payment and submission rules. Again, improving productivity, improving flexibility. One size does not fit all. We have many, many different policies, procedures, even within our own institutions. So app payment and submission rules gives you the power of our segments and condition builder to dictate various rules, right? The biggest thing this does is you can now have one application with many app fee configurations. So no longer do you have to have a copy of an application because international students pay a different application fee than a domestic student, or an in-state student versus an out-of-state student. So this really streamlines a lot of the work by giving you the power of conditional logic within some of these processes. Submission rules also allows you to expand the idea of not getting duplicate applications. Since the beginning, Element has always prevented a student from starting an application for the same term in the same major, but those rules are not universal, right? We still do that, but now you have the option to say, hey, I don't want them to ever start another application for the same term. Or if they're a current student, I want to prevent them from starting another undergraduate application. We've also been working with a lot of partners, and we had a session yesterday around integrations, but we've been expanding our partner network and the integrations where we send and receive our data, right? We are not a walled garden. Element is only as powerful as the data that we understand to drive the engagements for our students. So we've brought in a number of new payment and integration options. We have our own first-party payments payment provider now, Element451 payments powered by Stripe, so you no longer have to have your own Stripe account or other payment provider. We integrate with Flywire, and we're a TouchNet-ready partner for other types of payments if you're already using that. We've integrated and released new phone number intelligence around phone number validations. This is hugely important as we move through kind of a new age of rules and compliance around text messaging, but now we are verifying every phone number that's coming into Element and appending data around the carrier, whether or not that phone number is an actual phone number that can be communicated with. So this is really a powerful tool that you can immediately see, hey, that phone number must have a typo in it because it's not validated, right? And you're not spending time trying to communicate blindly with that student. But that also gives you an opportunity to reach out to that student and say, hey, we don't have complete information. Can you provide us that additional information? We've been working with our partner schools in North Carolina for the CFNC app. And for those of you using SCORE, we now have a SCORE integration template, which you can find in the PACS library. And there'll be additional integration packs coming later this year. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today is appointments. So this is a new feature that we teased earlier this month that was coming later this month, and later this month is here. So appointments is a brand new feature that takes a lot of inspiration from events, and we know that many of you are using the one-person event to do to manage some appointments, but there's more to appointments than just, you know, kind of hacking the events module, right? So we need a great portal for students to be able to find the appointments that they're looking for. We know we offer lots of different types of appointments across our institutions, everything from advising appointments to admissions interviews. So we need a way for students to discover the types of things that they can book. Because those one-on-one appointments, that's where the students connect, right? All of the back office stuff, that's all well and good, and the administrative tasks need to get done. but it's when we connect with our students one-on-one is when students are most successful. So that's where appointments really comes in. That booking site's available 24 hours a day, so the student can, at 11 o'clock at night, without calling an office, book that appointment. Unfortunately, right now, we still can't have the appointment for you, but at 11 o'clock at night, but we can make sure that that student is ready and can find the person who can help them through the booking site. Individual staff members can set up their own individual availabilities and configure that to their calendar, and also link their work calendars to appointments so we can fetch that busy data, because not everything lives in Element, not yet. So when you're meeting with the provost or your department head, or you're out of the office, right? We need to know that so we're not booking appointments for students, so linking your appointments. You can track and keep appointment notes, and of course, just like with our events module, we send automatic reminders by email with those calendar invites, and you can optionally send SMS reminders as well. And of course, it wouldn't be an Element module without lots of rich data, so we want to make sure you're tracking right within appointments. Did the student show up? Was there a cancellation? Were they a no-show? Right? Because these are all signals that we want to be able to follow up on. And you can integrate all of those statuses into workflows. So you can kick off a communications flow if a student is a no-show, or create a task to follow up with that student if they're a no-show. So let's take a quick look at a demo of appointments, and we'll show it off for you guys.
So as Eric sets that up, one thing to highlight there is it's really important is that we're trying to get a lot of the complexity removed away. I know a lot of you are using a Calendly or some other tools, but that's not really tightly integrated into Element. So we want to bring that rich data into Element, make sure that you guys are setting that up. And one of the things that we also have in there in store for later this year or soon is going to be the ability to have team appointments as well. So round robin or availability around those appointments. So that's going to be really, really important as we kind of move those workflows through.
Absolutely. So this is the student experience. This is just like our events portal. We've built a really nice looking, easy to configure page. So your school colors will come in here, your school logo. Again, if you've set up our events module, the configuration will be very similar. You'll, of course, be able to brand your URL to your .edu, just as you can with application sites and event sites. Students will come here. They'll be able to search by staff member or by the various filters here on your left. And they can select a staff member, and it's probably a little hard to see on the screen there, but all the way up, you can see that the URL, the last part of that URL is /Eric. So every staff member gets their own personalized URL that they can then embed into their email signature or other forms of communication. So those students can, if they're conversing outside of Element, can very quickly get to that particular staff member's availability. Here, at the person level, you can set up various what we call availabilities. So these are different appointment types where, maybe a couple of days a week I help the admissions office with admissions interviews, but my primary role is an academic advisor or a success coach, right? So students can see the different pieces here. Come in to the site, and it's as easy as picking a day, and you can see all of the availabilities available. They pick their date, fill out a short form, and they're ready to go, and that appointment comes directly in to Element. You'll find appointments on the engagement menu here at the top, and you can see our appointment management screen here. Let me blow this up a little bit here. If you've used the updated tasks module, this will seem very familiar. We took a lot of inspiration from tasks in building this. So we've got our quick filters on the left where you can see all appointments or your appointments. We've also heard your feedback on permissions. So appointments will include a permission that is my appointments user, which means the only appointments they'll be able to see or edit or modify are their appointments. They will not be able to see the whole universe of appointments. There will also be a permission setting to see all appointments. We've also got date and time filters here on the left so you can quickly get to appointments that are coming up this week, this month, today. We've got our quick stats at the top, filters, and of course, we can edit an appointment right in our sidebar and add notes to those appointments. We're really excited about appointments and how you all are going to use this to better manage those one-on-one connections with your students. And as I said in the webinar we did a couple of weeks back, I default to students, but of course you can use appointments to drive appointments with parents, students, other stakeholders, agents, what have you that you're communicating with within Element451. So that is a super quick look at appointments. There'll be more resources available around appointment shortly. But the best part is we'll be making appointments available in your instances later today. There are some quick start videos. Oh yeah, we can clap, yeah. There will be some quick start videos posted in our help center and more resources coming at the beginning of next week. So make sure that you jump in, explore. None of your sites will be published anywhere, so you can feel free to poke around in appointments and really start looking at this new feature.
All right, so I'm going to need Eric's help with this a little bit later, but I want to talk about some of the upcoming features on AI. And these are, you probably have seen, again, going back to our original challenges here, the challenge of student expectations. Those student expectations are changing. They're requiring, they're going to be there at night. They need questions answered. They need, they need to understand what's going on with their process, applications, their workflows. So giving them more data and giving them the ability to do those things, it's something that we focused on a lot. And our answer to that is BoltBot. Probably you have seen us talk about BoltBot over the past couple of months. We were the first ones to market with a preview of an advanced AI agent, an AI bot for students. We announced that earlier in March. However, there's been a lot of changes since then. And today I'm going to take a little bit of time to explain what that is and how it works. And we're going to give you a little bit of a demo in here. But the idea is that, BoltBot is conversational. One of the things that Stan mentioned yesterday was that idea of warmth versus competence, right? So warmth means that we understand each other, right? And that ability to communicate and converse with technology is really at the core of what's enabled BoltBot and conversational bots to be something that we're going to see in the future happening and being embedded in a lot of different products. So BoltBot by nature is conversational. It's powered by OpenAI, and we are really, really excited that we were able to bring a lot of those previews earlier on and work with a bunch of you to actually get the feedback and then make sure that we're iterating on it as well. It's multi-channel by default. It's something that we're not just having a different product. We are attaching it to conversations. It's part of your day-to-day conversations. So rather than you answering questions, now you have BoltBot. answering those questions. Holds complete conversations, right? It understands history and holds complete conversations. And of course, it's multilingual. And some of those, we're testing a lot of the multilinguality right now. So some of that is going to come up soon right after. But I just wanted to highlight this very, very quickly because as conversation comes in, one of the things that we're doing is, it's as simple as something it is, hey, when do classes start? It's really, really tough to have something that is going to fit into multiple channels, right? And as we're doing this conversation in multiple channels, that might come in through an email, it might come in through a text message, it might come in through a chat. And what we're doing is we are actually having very different responses to that person. We're from the web, it's hello Petter, it understands your name, classes at Element begin January 3rd. And then for an SMS, it's very short, it's using emojis. For email, it's actually expanding that a little bit longer to make it seem, well, not make it seem, but add a little more context in there, and of course include a lot of your, signatures directly through there. So multi-channel by default, right? It's attached to your conversations and you can turn it on and off. There's no training or configuration required. A lot of the bots in the past, that has been the bane of managing something like that, where you have to come up with all the questions, all the possible keywords that somebody's going to add. Well, we no longer have to do that, right? So we can scrape that data from your website. You can actually paste a lot of text in there, and we have some best practices, but there's really zero setup from your side in terms of training. There's no training whatsoever, right? So all you do is you point it to your resources, that your sources of knowledge, and it understands and it's able to kind of give answers on that. So we have multiple content sources. Like I said, public URLs. You can scrape your full website. You can also paste a lot of docs. You can copy and paste as much information as you want in there. It also pulls stuff from people data. So it uses the context of your profiles, of that student data. When you saw before, it pulled the name. It understands who the person is. So it's pulling their name. It can do a lot more than that, and we'll just show that in just a second. It also understands conversation history. So when somebody's coming in, it understands that you've had a prior conversation, so it doesn't start new, right? As part of an SMS message, as part of that thread, it understands that yesterday you asked about something. I hate it when I go to a support, a bot or support chat, and I literally had to start the same conversation 5 times and had to explain that, I need, my internet is down, I need support. I was not able to get to my phone in literally like maybe a minute and a half. I had to start the conversation again. So that is so annoying. So we are really thinking that the history of the conversation is going to be there. It's going to be permanent. It can be handed off to humans as well. And of course, there's institutional data in there as well. So you guys have seen a lot of that institutional data from PACS. We're pulling in a lot of that content in, but a lot of it is going to come in, as part, and the bots are going to have availability there. So as we look at this, right, we're thinking, one of the things that you can think about is, hey, when do those classes start? Again, when you look at that email, we're pulling context there and data from very different sources. Conversational history, of course, we talked about that. We're pulling data from the knowledge bases. So that knowledge base of URLs or websites or text and docs that you added in there that's coming in. You can see that in here, right? So January 3rd, 2023, found the answer that it was looking for in that knowledge base, and it's actually using that in order to provide the answer here. It's using institutional information, so it understands who the school is, it understands the location as part of your tokens, it understands the name of the school again. It's using profile data, so it's using that person's name. And then of course, these are different for different types of conversations as well. We wanted to make sure that a lot of you have heard, ChatGPT being the chatbot, right? So you probably have played with it, you're working with it, and everybody says, well, it doesn't give you correct answers. Like I Google, I put in my name, or I put in my school's name, or I asked it a question, and it told me fake information, or information that's not accurate. And yes, that is exactly what it does, right? It's meant to be a tool for as an engine, but it doesn't understand factual information. So what we do is everything in BullBot is grounded in your content. So we don't let it stray away. We guide it towards your content. So it's not going to give you answers, any answer out there. You can't tell it, how do I make a grilled cheese or something like that. It's not going to give you those kinds of answers. It's going to be grounded in the content that you give it. It's transparent history, so you actually see what the bot is answering, and we're going to take a look. It's going to see it's right alongside your conversations. You can control when it's available. So if you want it available, certain times of the day, you can control that as well. It does really amazing human handoff. If it doesn't understand something and the person says, "Hey, maybe can I talk to a human?" It will do that. You don't even have to say, "Can I talk to a human?" If it doesn't understand that by the second time, it'll say, "You know what, I'm going to get you to a human so you can actually do that." And then the last part, which is really, really cool, is if it wasn't part of Element, like it would be amazing at this time, but the other part that is great is when you do those handoffs, now you can set up conversation rules that are really dynamic. And we'll talk about that in just a second as well. So here it is, right? So when you're going in there, it understands this is the bot along the side conversations. You have all your conversations. You can see the bot answering those questions for you. And of course, you can join the conversation as a human and kind of go along with it as well. So really cool. The intent-driven handoff, it's something that we're really trying to bake it into the rest of your workflows, right? We're trying to make the student part of the single pane of glass. So they're really easy to understand and to get into what they're they're communicating with you. So we don't want them to go to different places. So the intent-driven handoff is if they're asking about FAFSA, or if they're asking about their financial kind of payments, if we don't have that information, then we can pass that off to you. And if you have a rule that is now automated to create a task around that, it will dynamically pull those rules, and you understand what rules are available, and then tie one of those intents to those rules dynamically. So really, really cool. We'll show off that in just a second. So powered by tools. This is so important, right? Because not only does it do conversations and Q&A, but it also needs to do things like Eric mentioned. Well, I have an appointment. Do I have to go through the UI to do that? No, you don't. The person can start a conversation. They can say, "Can you make me an appointment? What's the next appointment with this person?" And you'll go through that process. And it's connected and all those tools that he has access to. He has access to a lot of the tools in Element. Right now we have starting an application, so you can start an application, checking application statuses, scheduling that appointment, registering for events. And of course, this is an area where we are expanding and making BoldBot, be part of Element, right? Fitting in every part of that student experience that they're doing, so it can be conversational, it can be very seamless in having those interactions. And I wanted, Eric, maybe we can just show a couple of things. I'd really appreciate if we can drive that. I'll be the one doing the commentary in the background, but you can. I'll just point. Just press that thing. So starting a conversation. It's conversational. You can just say hello. We're going to go through one really quick example here of how to schedule one of the appointments. And Eric had set up, or perhaps we have, let's see. Well, let's ask it a couple of different questions first. Let's do the easy ones first, right? It's like, well, all right, fine. We asked the FAFSA question before. How do I get my FAFSA? So let's see if we can do that. So remember, conversational by design, right? So it understands that it's Element University. It understands manners. Can we make that a little bit bigger? There we go. Now, one thing that we've done is we are exposing everything, all those tools that you're seeing. You can see how it's going through all those different tools in the background. It's saying, hey, I'm thinking through it. It's analyzing what the question is. There can be multiple questions there could be multiple actions that need to be taken in a question. It's going through them. It's using those tools. It's using the knowledge base. and then it's going to kind of provide you the answer in the right channel, in the right way. So again, throughout that whole time, we're letting the student know, we're letting that user know that something is happening here, so they're not, there we go. So it pulled all of that information around the FAFSA deadlines, and this is pulled from the knowledge base that we have in our, and of course we're going to go a lot deeper into this in our afternoon session around the chatbot, so we can kind of try a lot of those tools and kind of give you a little bit more insight on the knowledge base and how that works as well.
Ardis, I just wanted to reiterate what you said about the bot not necessarily having a specific one answer to a specific one question. The bot actually thinks through what the question is, draws off of your content, and delivers an intelligent response that is contextual. And that's what's really different about these AI tools and is really special, is you don't have to set it up. You just have to give it that knowledge, and it's able to figure out appropriate answers.
Yes, exactly. All right, so the Wi-Fi hasn't been great here, but also we can certainly, again, it's going, interesting, it's going, checking the financial aid resources again to pull that information from California. It understands, acronyms and, synonyms and things like that as well, so it's again, very conversational in that way. If the conversation has started from an SMS message or an email, it will do exactly the same thing. Hopefully you guys can see that from the back, but the whole idea here is that it understands, again, the California information, and it's giving you that deadline for that one. All right, let's do a couple more. So, that trust and that warmth, students can have full conversations with it, and let's see what we get when we ask it about living on campus. Now, this is a live demo, by the way, so we haven't recorded this one before. And of course, it understands. It's a little bit of a friend. It says, "That's great to hear. Living on campus is a unique experience. If you have any questions or information about campus life at Element, just feel free to ask." So one of the things that we've loaded in there before, Cook Hall, which is one of our fictional dorms, or fictional dorms. It's actually going to go through and give you a little bit more information about it as they start thinking. So remember that it's thinking, right? So it's going through the intent of that question. It's trying to pull context from your knowledge bases, and it's going to. So we're going to speed this up because we do have a lot of other things to show which are really amazing. So one of the things we want to do is we wanted to see if we can schedule an appointment and use one of those tools in here. But again, we wanted to give you a sneak peek of this, and we're going to have a lot more in the afternoon session. So come and see that. Oh boy, just a lot of information. But there's a lot more information about Cook Hall, so this is actually giving you kind of a summary of that, rather, right?
And another thing that's really amazing about this experience is that all of these responses are within the history of this conversation with the person in your side when you look in Element. So you can go in and you can see what the bot is doing and saying, and you can follow up, you can continue the conversation. It's all transparent to you, and you're in control of when the bot is responding and when it's not. So it's additive to your existing process.
So here we go. It actually, it said, okay, great, I'm going to use one of the tools now to understand. And if you saw before, Eric had two event types, or two appointment types, a student success one and an admissions interview one. It understands that. It pulled that from the CRM. It provided those options. You don't have to click those buttons. Those buttons are really a way for us to give you a little bit more context. You can actually just reply directly in there. That Grammarly, Eric.
Yeah.
We gotta.
I should have disabled my other bot.
So again, it understands just like a human would. It understands if you have those appointments on Friday or another day, and we can actually go ahead and kind of book those appointments directly from here, because it understands who you are. And we're going to talk a little bit about later around the idea of the bot being authenticated and understanding and going through that process, right? So it understands even if you come as an anonymous user, it will authenticate you, we'll kind of send you that authentication because we want that trust and security as part of this as well. So we're trying to be very security conscious, not to hallucinate using your context, making sure that users are authenticated, we're not leaking any data, and then trying to making sure that it's answering the questions that you wanted to answer. All right. So we're going to leave it at this. We're going to leave it hanging, give you a little bit of suspense here, and then we're going to go to back to our presentation. It's confirming. It's actually generating that link for you and that appointment. All right. I keep saying that, and we're going back to it. It's just.
It's like the siren song. You can't look away. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
But we'll have a lot more for you this afternoon to look at.
Yeah,
exam.
exactly. So the second part that we want to talk about is around staff shortages and expertise. So this is an area where, again, the productivity, your productivity, we've started with things like packs. We're doing a lot of stuff in the UI in order to make those you productive. However, one of the things that we introduced earlier this year to kind of take advantage of this generative AI was Copilot. And Copilot was at the beginning, we introduced just the beginning phases of it, our kind of proof of concept. It's like, it's like a copywriter. So Grammarly, Eric, I don't even know why you have Grammarly in there anymore. So the ability for you to work with copy, and we introduced that earlier, and that's been available now for a couple of months, right? So the ability for you to have things like improve your writing, essentially fixes all your grammar mistakes, fixes all your spelling errors, and of course it kind of changes the language to be a little bit more in tune. I forget who said yesterday you have to write for an 80 or like an 8th grader language. So those are the kinds of the things that we're introducing in there. Things like making things shorter, making them longer, changing the tone. These are all baked into the tools in Element, right? So you go to write a landing page, an email, a conversation. Those are all available in there, so you can take advantage of those tools. Another thing that's in there and takes advantage of your knowledge bases is draft reply. So rather than you having to go through and look at all the answers for a particular question that's come through, it will actually let you draft a reply so you can kind of modify that without having the bot on. So that's part of Copilot. We've introduced these. I'm not going to go into showcasing these. However, what is really excited is that today, and our vision for Copilot is that it's going to be part of every it's going to be part of every module and every interaction with Element that you're going to have. So how fast can we get you to to that campaign? So we've built a campaign wizard, an AI-powered campaign wizard, which is part of Copilot, right? So Copilot is going to be that brand name and that tool, but it's going to be available in a lot of different places. It creates an outline plan for you, right? So building a full campaign, it creates outlines a plan, it crafts the content, it builds those emails. You know what? Let's just show it to you. All right. So, hey, here it is. It's conversational as well, very similar to BallBot. Eric, actually, we can't make this any bigger. I think, oh, all right. A little smaller?
A little smaller?
A little smaller? There we go. All right. So a lot of stuff is going to happen on the screen. So we can ask it, how can you help me, right? We don't know any context. We don't have any context with it. Now, this is within the Element interface. It will basically say, hey, I'm here to help create and manage communications for Element. I can assist you in creating campaigns outlines, setting campaigns, everything that we said. It said, great, I need a campaign. And again, just like the students interacting, with BallBot to get answers, Copilot is interacting with you as an assistant to help you along that journey. And one of the things it's asking in here is saying, great, in order to create that, I need to know who the audience is, what the high-level goals of the campaigns are, and what channel do you want to send it in, and hey, you might want to tell me how many communications would you like to have in there as well, right? Or how long do you want it to be? So we baked a lot of best practices in there as well for this.
Yeah.
Eric, you're writing a lot. Let's go maybe. Do we want to go the whole thing, or we can do it a little bit at a time? So.
Let's do that.
Wow.
Copilot knows how to do a lot of things, but it also knows how to guide the user. It knows how to give you recommendations for the types of content that you can create.
So it understands that it's like, okay, I need a little bit more information. I need to know, great, you've given me the campaign. It understands that, it understands the audience. It understands the topic and the call to action. It understands the channels that we gave it. But now it says, oh, I need to know a little bit more. Like, how long do you want this thing to be, right? Usually, we give some best practices in there, 7 days between communications. So we can tell it, I want maybe 3 communications in there. All right, here we go. So here starts the magic, right? It's starting to write the outline. And this is actually happening live right now as we speak. So it's writing the outline. It's thinking through this problem, and it's thinking through the best practices that we're kind of built in there in order to write the outline. And we're going to go through the process of actually building the whole thing together in here. So this part, again, it might take a few seconds as it starts thinking through it. Here we go. So here's an outline. So let's open that up. It actually opened up the first email. And what was the objective of that campaign again?
Promoting our open house.
Excellent. We could have just said, promoting our second day of Engage. So it put the outline together. Communication 1, it's saying I'm going to send an email that day. I put out the subject lines, the body, the call to actions, closing, and of course we pull down the signature as part of their element. And then communication 2, it's going to be an SMS message, and then communication 3, it's going to be an email again. So it wrote the content of the SMS message, and one of the things to note in there is that we are automatically including the tokens, the element tokens, a lot of the things that you need to know how to do in Element. So best practices, we're including a lot of those things in there so you guys can go through it.
And this is not pre-written content. This is dynamically generated content from the AI. The more detail you give it, the more background, the more detailed those responses will be.
Exactly. So let's trip it out. Let's work with it. Okay. Let's say, can you expand? Can you actually? I want 5 communications instead of 3. So it's conversational, right? So you can iterate over it. You can go through it, iterate over it. It's going to write another outline for you, and then it's going to actually go through that process again. Now, we want to make sure that you have a really good outline together because it's going to base a lot of those things on that outline. One other thing that we're going to show you is that you have these workspaces, these conversations that you've had as workspaces. Those are available and saved for you, so you can go back tomorrow, you can go back another day, and you can say, hey, can you build me this campaign again? Or can you build me this, but now change the call to action, or how many communications we had in there. So he wrote communication 4, 5, and 6 again. It's adding more communications in there. Now, all right, let's like it and continue. All right, you don't have to do that. You can just say, okay, great, go ahead. But in this case, we just continue that process.
Eventually, you can talk to it in different languages, and it'll understand that too.
All right. Well, hopefully we're all English speakers here. All right, so now it's writing the communications themselves, right? It's writing the first communication, the open house. It's writing the content for it. It had given us, this is pretty simple because it had given us the outline before, but more communications are going to pop up as it starts writing those. The way that this works is a multi-agent kind of architecture where we are giving it the planning agent is doing the planning and the outline, and then as it's building up the conversation, it's using different kind of agents. And here we go. It's writing the SMS again, and so every one agent is specifically built to do one component of this, to write, to plan, to be, to have the best call to actions. So that's the way we're building this. All right, great. So what can we do now? It's still
gave it a
writing.
lot more work
Oh,
today.
we told it to write a lot more. We needed 5. Why did we do that? Yes, yes. So we're going to see how we actually takes it and actually puts it into the CRM directly in there. Great. So, all right, here we go. So now it's actually building those communications into the CRM itself, into Element. So remember when we said, hey, you can use packs to build those communications, but now we can use Ballpot to actually build everything in Element as we go through. So he built the workflow for you, he built all the communications, and Eric, as Eric goes to the workflow, you can see it's June 28th. This is actually promote our upcoming open house. It built the workflow for you. It put all the communications as part of that workflow. You can see the communications in here. And then if we go back, Eric, really quickly to, if we go, just click on this so we can see the communications. If you just click on the generated June 8th, there we go. That opens up all the things that it generated. So let's go to that second email really quickly. And you can see in here that it built that email for us. It built us it kind of actually, what's really interesting is that we are using our content tokens, and we have a lot of content images in there. We have aerial views of campus. We have students in classroom with teacher. So we have all of those different types of images, and it's understanding what type of email it is, and it's actually picking the right images to put together in there. So we are adding it, we're adding those images, it's adding your logos, and if you scroll a little bit down, Eric, it's actually, that content that you saw before with the tokens. Tomorrow is a great day, reserve your spot today. So everything is being generated now as part of that communication. What do you think? All right. All right, so we give the demo already, so. So one more thing, so we're gonna try to cover a little bit more of it and have some questions, but one of the other things that we wanted to talk about, and you're gonna have a session about this, interrogating your data a little bit later today, is that there's no ROI, right? And the no ROI, we've introduced a lot of insights into Element, right? And the ability to see all your data, the ability to see all your dashboards, your conversions. So Insights has been evolving over the past year as well, and now you have a lot more richer data in there. So this idea of looking at that student journey from beginning to end is there. But one of the questions that was there yesterday from, I think Linnell, you mentioned, hey, my VP, and I know Debbie, she's dangerous enough to, with dashboards and to kind of ask the right questions, but she just doesn't know what buttons to click, right? And she figured it out yesterday. But one of the things that we've kind of added is that we have made Insights available for everybody. So we have given everybody unlimited access to Insights. So everyone who goes into Element, you can have access to Insights. It doesn't matter what type of user, and you control the permissions on that. We've also added 8 new dashboards in there, add new Insight dashboards, anything from activity views to emails to page views to campaign performance. But one of the things that, and this is the way it looks, by the way, if you haven't seen it, there's a lot of, one of the great things that you're going to see a little bit later as well is that there's a lot of kind of segmentation built in there. So a lot of your calculated segments are now filters in your dashboard. So you can kind of see all of these insights at your different populations as well. But however, what we wanted to talk about today is that we are adding one more thing, right? So rather than us having pre-built dashboards, we want you to ask your questions in natural language. So we're introducing Insights Q, which is the ability for you to ask questions in natural language. It's AI-powered. It reduces time to insights, and of course you can just ask those questions and you don't have to go in and build your own dashboard. So now you can ask it any question that you want. It gives you dynamic visualizations. It's the same unified data set. It's powering our dashboards. It's powering Insights Q as well. And of course you'll improve over time as we have more data in there. So just a quick image in here. We asked the question, how many students applied over the last 4 years by application by month, right? So that's a question that we asked it, and it was able to kind of give us that graph. You can change the graphs, you can kind of change the dimensions in here after it's understanding, but it's picking the dimensions for you, it's picking the visualizations for you, it's trying to understand what that question means in order to give you that in real time, that visualization without you being a data analyst, right, or being a dashboard builder. You just ask the question and it understands. We understand things like synonyms around application versus apps versus different student, things like that. It also understands your terminology. So if you have a territory that you call a certain way, you can ask for that. If you have an application type a certain way, it will understand that as well. We wanted to do a demo of this, but we're running a little bit long time. We wanted to give Robot a lot more, but there's going to be a session on Insights Q and some of the work there around interrogating your data a little bit later today. We just wanted to introduce it. I'm going to hand it off to Ty to kind of talk a little bit about the product and AI vision that we have for Element. There's going to be a lot more to cover here, but we're really, really excited and trying to pack a lot of things in here. So this is over the next year or so, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that was a lot. Very exciting stuff. And while the team has been creating all of this incredible new technology, we have also been planning what's next because the world of technology moves very fast. And so coming in today, we wanted to show you not just what we've been doing to date, but also what we're aiming to do by the time we next gather. And we hope that you'll be here next year to look at this stuff with us too. Just to return to our basic product philosophy, all of this stuff is very new and it's very exciting, but it doesn't change the core way that we look at our product. Our product is about these basic things, these things that you need in your institutions to do your jobs the best that you possibly can. And just because we're introducing new tools, we're basing things off cutting-edge AI, it doesn't mean that we're straying away from this. This is still our focus. I want to quickly talk big picture about AI. You just saw a lot of innovation. You're going to be seeing in every software tool you use, you're going to be seeing AI start to get included. It's already getting included in many, many tools. And the amazing thing about this AI technology is that it's very open. There's tools like the tools that OpenAI creates that are pretty easy to integrate into a lot of software. And so the key determiner of which products are going to be effective is not going to be whether they have AI-powered functionality. It's going to be how they do that. And how they do that is going to be determined by their teams. Because if you're investing in a tool, you're going to be feeding that tool data. That's going to be making the AI more and more effective. And what that means is that you really need to be able to trust that you are committing to the right AI tools. And when it comes to AI, it's not going to be about the functionality, it's going to be about how that's implemented. So we have a specific philosophy for how we are implementing AI tools. I wanted to communicate that with you. First and foremost is safety. I think all of us have heard about concerns, right, around data privacy, around hallucinations, like Ardis was saying. These tools can be somewhat unpredictable. And so when you're committing to an AI partner, you need to commit to someone who is able to ensure that the right messages are being sent to your students and that their privacy is respected. The other one is looking at people as people. These are amazing pieces of technology, but at their core, they're here to help us serve people. We know you all are serving your students, and we're here to serve you. It's all about people. It has to be effective. We don't want to introduce AI tools that are just cool, that just look fun. We actually want to deliver results for you all, and that's going to come through your day-to-day. When you feel like you're really saving time, like you're being more effective because of our tools, that's when we will know we've succeeded. And constant evolution. The other thing about these tools being so available is that many teams, many products, many companies are going to be able to integrate these tools. But are they able to keep up with the cutting edge? You know, over the last couple months as we've been developing these tools, I've gotten to see firsthand how incredible our team is at literally day by day, looking at the changes in the technology that are becoming available and figuring out how we can best leverage those changes to deliver value to you all. So we don't just look at ourselves as a product company, we look at ourselves really as a business partner for you all. And I hope that you have all felt that in the way that we relate to you, but that's also the case with our AI tools as well. They're an extension of that partnership for you. So I want to preview some of where we would like these tools to go in the future. And we have some preliminary design for the way that we would like the tools to evolve over the coming year. And I just want to reiterate the word preliminary. We're still working on these designs, features, and they will evolve quite a bit before they go live. But we wanted to whet your appetite, and we wanted to get you inspired to think about how you can use these tools in your institutions to bring value to your students. So this is an evolution of where we could take the Copilot interface that Ardis just showed. What we just showed is Copilot being able to perform one complex task, which is creating a campaign. But you all do many, many other things in Element every day, right? There's hundreds of different jobs that you need to perform that you use Element to do. And we want Copilot to be able to do all of those things. We want it to be able to help you basically do everything that comes up in your job. So we plan to make Copilot a central part of the Element interface. So it's not just there to do a narrow set of things, but it really becomes your kind of constant companion. So we envision actually putting it right on the dashboard when you log in. So as you enter the software, you can just give it a prompt and get going with your day. As you type into Copilot, we want to help you generate the right commands to tell Copilot what to do, because these AI tools have kind of specific ways that they like to receive instructions, and the more that we can give you assistance in creating those correct prompts, the faster things will go, the less questions it will have to ask you. This is an example where we've just typed into the Copilot interface to create a task. It can just pop that task right into place. It can tell you that it's created a task, and it can ask you if you have any more questions. And we've put a little bubble down here that shows you Copilot's kind of responses. I know it's a little hard, it's a little small. And then we have Copilot down here asking how it can help. And so we don't want Copilot to just be something you have to go to use. We want it to be embedded throughout the entire interface. We also want to expose this kind of chat mode that's very similar to what we just showed, and we want to keep that available to you if you want to have or need to have a longer interaction with the chatbot. Again, this is a in-context usage where we're on a person's page, and Copilot is available to help with actions that you might want to do. We want Copilot also to be aware of context. So if you say, I want to reach out to this person, it knows what this person is because you're actually on that page. So we want you to interact with it like it's a person, like it's another team member. We have these auto-suggestions again and questions that Copilot's going to ask you to clarify your requests. We also want Copilot to be able to handle weird things or commands that it doesn't understand in a really human and intelligent way. So if you tell Copilot to create a FASC and it doesn't know what a FASC is, it will actually ask you that. It's not just going to say there's a, So we want Copilot to continually guide you and interact with you just like a human. Another thing that we want to bring to Element over the coming year, is to expand out the range of use cases for schools that are really prominently supported within Element. We already support alumni profiles and current student profiles, but we want to bring a lot more rich data types that are specific to those types of users. So some quick examples bringing in active course information, financial aid, housing, looking forward at alumni, giving history, key milestones, job history, things like that. So we want to really flesh this out to make sure that your profiles in Element of people are totally complete. Another quick change we're adding is we are unifying the settings, and I think a lot of you have configured lots of tools within Element. We're trying to bring all of that configuration into one single place. Then Ignite. So Ignite is a really ambitious new project that we have to create a new version of Element that's kind of slimmed down and focused on our core communication tools. And this is designed for people who are at schools that are using other CRM products so that they're able to actually leverage our communication tools, particularly our AI tools. We also want to make sure that this version of Element is completely self-service and self-administrable. So we're trying to make it so that onboarding into this product is very, very simple. We know that you all are already users, or most of you are already users, but we know that you know folks at institutions like this though, who are going to want to use your tools, and we want to let you know that this is coming. Lastly, school portals. Our vision for this feature is that we want to bring all of the data that's in Element and make it available to all of those people to whom that data belongs. And as we add new features and functionality to Element itself, we want to make that available to those people. So we want to have comprehensive portal for students, parents, alumni, for them to log in, be able to look at and change all of their data. And this is our preliminary roadmap. And like I said, I emphasize that word preliminary, not just because it's very hard to see a year and ahead of time, but because we want to do this in collaboration with all of you. We don't just want to dictate, how we're going to drive the product. We really need to do that together, and we want to hear from you. So please come up to us. Please tell us how you're using Element, the things that you would like to see the most. And we will be factoring all of that in as we plan our next year. So with that, I just want to close our vision segment on this quote. And what I love about this quote is that it emphasizes what I said before. These tools are cool. They're amazing, cutting-edge technology, but ultimately it's all about people. It's all about what we're able to actually deliver. We know that your job is to serve people, and our job is to serve you, and that's our focus with everything that we build. Thank you.
All right. So what'd you think? All right. Excellent. We're going to showcase a lot more of that during our afternoon sessions. I wanted to have it open for a couple of Q&A. I know that we ran a little bit long, so we want to get going with our next session. So maybe we have time for 2 questions, and then you can find us afterwards to kind of ask other questions as well. But as you can see, we're truly committed to making productivity a key focus, student experience, and bringing a lot of data together. All right, 2 questions.
Any plans to have Bowl or Copilot also create campaign pages? Like they create emails?
Yes, that's exactly one of the natural extensions is for it to create a lot of those pieces of content, events, communications, landing pages, microsites, and so on and so forth. So it's actually a tool to help you build and create a lot of those assets in Element.
So that is now, or that's coming?
So
Pages.
Copilot is what we showed you today. It's literally code that we were building yesterday because we wanted to have a live working version today. We're going to be releasing this over the next month or so, and we're going to be adding a lot more capabilities and tools to it over the next couple of months as part of the roadmap by the end of Q3.
Yeah, we're targeting Q3 basically as a kind of final rollout of those tools. But they're going to continually evolve. And anytime we build something new into Element, we're going to be building it into the AI tools as well.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, who's next?
One more.
Back? I'm coming.
Oh, Renee's picking the...
Picking up the pace, not wearing heels today.
Ardis, thank you for the demonstration on BoltBot. Question is, I know it's for warmth and engagement and that human feel, but has there been thought or consideration in the way individuals interact with it that could also identify potential concerns or threats that certain language or behavior could alert team members because it's 24/7?
Right.
Has there been consideration of thinking about that because anybody could be using it?
Yeah, the idea with those dynamic handoffs and dynamic intents, it's basically you can kind of pre-build those and you can say there is some kind of concern here, there's a financial concern, there is a safety concern, there's something, and based on the question or based on the intent that question derived, you can kind of route those intents to different pre-built dynamic rules that you've set up, and now somebody gets a task that says, hey, reach out to this person immediately, or perhaps you can assign it to the right person. So yeah, that you should be able to do that. One more, I did say two, but I have one more. There's one right here.
Okay, coming. I saw the hand. Where's the hand? There we go. All right. I see you.
Thanks, guys, for the demo. Awesome information and future-looking capabilities. I just had a question if you were willing to share a little bit about the roadmap and feature prioritization process you guys undergo. I'm sure there's always a balance to be had between features that your customers kind of need and want and are asking for, and then some visionary stuff you want to provide. How are you guys working through that, if you're willing to?
Ty, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I think it's always case by case. I think those are judgment calls, but obviously it's a key priority for us to make sure that all of our schools have the tools that they need to do their jobs effectively. So, like you said, it's a balance, but it's a discussion we're constantly having. We plan in an iterative cycle fashion. So every day, every week, we're looking at those lists of priorities and trying to make the best decisions with the resources we have available. But what I want to emphasize is that we can do a better job the more that we interact and communicate and hear from our customers. So that's why that's super important to us to continually be in touch. And anyone here can reach out to me, Ardis, Eric, and we're happy to talk to you about the goals that you have for how you want to use the product and make sure that your needs are being prioritized.
Yeah, if you saw on that track, there is, first of all, we released 500 plus releases over the last year. So we are only highlighting a few in here, but every day, every week, there is questions, there's tasks that come or feedback from you every single day, and we take that and we put it in there. So we have multiple tracks, and we have multiple teams that are focusing on quality of life improvements and kind of feature requests that are coming in that can be small. And then on the larger vision, you saw it more laid out around quarters. Everything else is very, very fast. We can get something out in a matter of days or same day or weeks. Obviously, the determination that we make is what's the impact across all of our partners, and that's kind of how we do a lot of that priority. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to hand it off back to Mallory, and I'll see you guys this afternoon.
All right. That was awesome. Thank you